Hi everybody, so something a little bit different from me today. I'm going to talk about the 5 most important things that I've learned since I started doing photography. So all 5 of the skills that I'm going to talk about cut across pretty much all genres of photography. I would say probably the exception will be wildlife and sport for that. So number 1 is observation. So if I'm coming to either a landscape location or an urban site, it's really about taking the time to observe what is going on around you. Not just the obvious things, like something on the street or something on a big vista, but also observation for the details as well. Particularly when I do urban photography, I generally don't take shots with people in it, but what I do look for is little things like architecture, small details on buildings, how buildings interact with the surroundings as well. And for landscapes, it's pretty much the same thing. Yes, looking for the big vista shots, but I also spend a lot of the time just observing small things in nature as well. So rather than just walking really quickly to a destination, slow down, just really look around you and see what is going on. Right, so second on my list is light. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're doing urban or whether you're doing landscapes, light is so important, or portrait and fashion photography as well. And I may show you a few clips of that too. Clear my voice, sorry. So I may show you some portrait photography that I've done as well. So obviously for landscapes, going out there, generally we avoid harsh light unless you really want that as part of your photography. But looking at the way that light falls on the landscape. So again, we're back to observation, but also having the patience just to wait around. Now, I'm not the most patient person, to be honest, but I do take my time. If I find a composition and it looks as if the light is changing, I do pretty much just put my tripod down and wait for the conditions to change. That's for landscapes. For urban, yeah, again, light really is important, the way that it falls. And certainly for urban photography, I do go out later in the day when we do have harsher light, because I want those shadows to really help me create some nice photography. I think that works especially well if you're doing black and white urban photography. So number 3 on my list of things I've learned is to look for textures. Now again, this applies to landscape or urban photography. Certainly for urban photography, I really like looking at the buildings to see the construction, to see what it's made up of. Not just looking at the buildings as well, sometimes on the floor is also where you're going to find some nice kind of textures and patterns, obviously, which comes along with that. Sometimes too for landscape photography. So again, if you're focusing in on the details rather than going for big vistas, take a look at the plant life. Look for different textures in that as well. And you'll find that you get some kind of nice curves, nice shapes that you can really focus in on. Again, I'm going to talk about simplicity in a second, but relying on something that has a lot of texture, and again, if that texture has light on it, that can lead to some really nice photos. Okay, next on my list is simplicity. So what I've learned to do is really reduce the complexity in my photos. Less is more. Now, that means that actually sometimes I go really minimalist with my photos. Again, for landscape and for urban, and also for portrait as well. You want something that the audience, that the viewer, and yourself, obviously, because you are the main viewer of your photos, can just really look at and take in and maybe ask some questions about as well. So reducing the complexity in a photo works really well. If there's too much going on, then people are going to lose sight of what they're supposed to be actually looking at, and too much going on means that you have heavy amounts of distraction in the photo. So number 5 on my list, the last one on my list, is learning to do color grading. Now, twofold really, either in the field, or ideally both actually, in the field and also when you're doing your editing. And again, this applies to portrait photography, applies to cityscape or urban, and it applies to landscape as well. So looking at good color combinations. Now there is such a thing as color theory, which I won't go into, you can always look it up. For me, color theory is great because it talks about which colors go together, and it's normally the opposite colors. But of course, when you're in the field, it's kind of difficult to look for those things. But obviously from your own viewpoint, from your own site, looking for colors that complement each other. And of course, when it comes to black and white, obviously you're not color grading, but you are looking for contrast between the different parts of the shot as well. So that's it. Those are the 5 things that I have learned since I started doing photography. Now, if you are new to photography, the place I would start would be observation, because that's really going to help you the most at the beginning, and then the other aspects you can just plug in after that. As always, thank you for watching and see you next time.